She cheated on me, but she says it was just for fun and meant nothing. I felt like a happy husband, sure that I had the happiest family, a faithful wife, and a beautiful daughter. We got married very young. I was only 22, and my girlfriend was 4 years younger than me. It has been about 6 years since our wedding, and during all this time, we lived in peace and rarely argued. At that time, I was promoted at work, and my salary increased. I started to feel much better, earning more money, and I would give gifts to my daughter and my wife every weekend. My wife never complained about me. One day, I woke up in the morning, had breakfast, and took my wife to work. She left later than usual, took our daughter to kindergarten, and went to work in a good mood. When I arrived at work, my wife called me and said she had taken a pregnancy test and it was positive. She sent me a photo on social media. She also told me she had taken the day off to go to the hospital for an exam where they would give her a due date, and she would come back home. Additionally, she said she would cook a delicious hot dinner and that we would celebrate this event in the evening. I told my boss at work about the news. He congratulated me and even said I could leave early. I didn't tell my wife I could leave early to surprise her, but the surprise was not for her, it was for me. After being let off early from work, I picked up my daughter and took her to my parents' house. I told them my wife was pregnant, and they congratulated me. I thought my wife and I needed to be alone to talk about everything. On the way home, I bought a bouquet of flowers and gold jewelry for my wife. I got home trying to do it in a way that my wife wouldn't run away and would be surprised to see me home early from work. However, I heard my wife sitting in the bedroom, talking loudly on the phone with a friend. She didn't hear me enter, but what I heard in her conversation shocked me. Her friend asked how far along she was in the pregnancy, and my wife replied that she was already in the 4th week. Then her friend asked if I knew about the pregnancy. Yes, he knows, my wife replied. Then her friend asked if the baby was really mine, and my wife, surprised, asked who else it could be but her husband's. She said she hadn't been with her lover for a couple of months, and that she used contraceptives with another lover. I told my lovers that I only want to have children with my husband and that I would only be with them for fun, my wife added. The friend asked why she was cheating on me, considering she had such a wonderful husband. My wife asked her not to interfere in her life and said that if she slept with several men, that was not considered infidelity. My husband is just my husband, and lovers are just for affection, my wife added. She said this was just entertainment and there was nothing serious or wrong about it. I listened to the whole conversation without entering the room and snatching the phone. I experienced a storm of emotions, felt sweaty, and didn't know what to do. I approached the room where my wife was, and she was startled to see me. It was evident in her eyes that I had heard everything. I stayed silent and looked at her as tears streamed down her cheeks. You know what happens in the movies? I finally said. The wife kneeled and begged for forgiveness, but I didn't want that. However, I took pity on her and restrained myself. I took the bouquet of flowers and didn't hit her. I took off the wedding ring and threw it at her face. I was tired of hearing her empty apologies and excuses. Then I left the house and went to my parents' house. On the way, I bought several bottles of strong liquor. I arrived at my parents' house and locked myself in my room. I started drinking and cried all weekend without finding any comfort. My parents entered my room several times and asked what had happened. I didn't tell them everything and just said I felt bad. The next day, my parents came into my room again and told me my wife had come to pick up our daughter. My mother asked me not to bring my wife to my parents' house and that they would take care of our daughter. We realize you need to be alone and discuss everything, but there's no need to bring her here, my mother told me. If she knew what my wife had done, she would understand. My wife entered the room, and I sat on the floor staring at a fixed point. Hello, dear, let's talk, my wife said, but I only asked her how she had the courage and audacity to come looking for me. She responded by saying she wasn't a bad wife, that she had always taken care of the children and was an excellent housewife. Am I a bad wife for being with other men? She asked me. I did it just for fun, without any serious meaning. If I had found the man of my dreams, then I would understand. But this was just for fun, she added. I told her I didn't want to hear any more of her apologies and excuses. I said I was going to file for divorce and that I would keep our daughter. Tomorrow, I will pick up our daughters and my things. Then my wife told me in a threatening tone that she would insist the court take her side. I continued listening to my wife, but I didn't care what she said. Her attempt to threaten me and keep me by her side wouldn't work. I was determined to proceed with the divorce. The next day, I went to pick up my daughters and my things. My wife tried to stop me again, but this time I stood firm. I didn't want to live in a relationship without trust or respect. I started the divorce process and sought legal advice to protect my rights and those of my daughter. Although I was concerned about the reaction of her lovers and feared possible retaliation, I wouldn't let that stop me. My priority was to ensure my daughter grew up in a healthy and safe environment. During the divorce process, my wife tried several times to reconcile and ask for forgiveness, but I could no longer trust her or her words. I had lost faith in our relationship and her ability to change. The court finally ruled in favor of the divorce and established the conditions for our daughter's custody. Although it was difficult, I tried to maintain a friendly relationship with my ex-wife for the sake of our daughter. However, our interactions were minimal and mainly focused on matters related to our daughter. Life after the divorce was tough at first, but little by little, I found my way. I focused on my daughter and my own well-being. I sought emotional support from friends and family and gradually regained my confidence and joy in life. In time, I met someone who shared my values and respected the importance of trust and fidelity in a relationship. We started building a new life together, and although it was a long process, I finally found the happiness and peace I had lost in my previous marriage. The experience taught me many important lessons. I learned to value myself and seek relationships based on mutual respect and trust. I also learned to be more aware of warning signs in a relationship and not to ignore my instincts. If you asked me for advice, I would tell you to trust yourself and your instincts. Don't stay in a relationship where you feel you are not respected or valued. If trust has been broken and the relationship no longer brings you happiness, it's important to make difficult but necessary decisions for your own well-being and that of your children if you have them. Remember that you deserve a healthy and happy relationship and that you are not alone. Seek support from friends, family, or professionals if you need it. Life can be difficult, but it can also be rewarding when you make decisions that allow you to grow and be happy. I hope you find the strength to move forward and build a life full of love and happiness. Much encouragement and strength on your journey.